Hello, cruel, cruel world. My name is Dr. Shaham Das. I'm a consultant forensic psychiatrist. I assess mentally disordered offenders for a living so that you don't have to. So, a heartbroken SEAL superfan who is aged 41 lost £2,000 in a fake romance scam after an online con artist posed as the British pop legend SEAL and wooed her over WhatsApp. In this episode, I'm going to outline the details of this fascinating story. I'm going to tell you about 8 red flags for internet dating specifically related to scams. I might do another video, check it out on this channel, about other red flag internet dating. But for this one, we've all seen Tinder Swindler. It might be more helpful to know what are the signs that you are being scammed. And also in this episode, how do you protect yourself from being scammed on dating websites and on apps? So sit back, grab a rose, kiss it, and let's get straight into a psych for sore minds. Okay, so what are the 8 signs that you're being scammed? Number 1, first and foremost, they ask for financial help. Now, it's not so bad if they mention financial problems in passing in the beginning of the conversation, but if they keep going on about it, the chances are they are fishing in the hope that you'll offer to help. So if this is their main message, then your spidey sense should be tingling. Your bullshit radar needs to prick its little ears up. Number 2, they avoid disclosing too much personal information about themselves. And also the details that they do give you don't quite add up. So for example, they might be quite superficial in the details about their supposed job. So they might say that they are like an investment banker or a mariachi player, but they don't use the right lingo, and the details they give you kind of feel like they've just Googled investment banker or mariachi player. Numero 3. There's an element in desperation in the way they're approaching you. So we have to remember that scammers, they have this kind of scattergun approach. So they approach lots and lots of different people, and they don't have that much time because they spread their attention because it's basically their job. So what I'm saying is if there's this element of desperation of trying to move things forward quickly, it's because you're one on a long list of potential fish they might catch. Number 4, love bombing. So this is kind of related to the previous one in terms of desperation, but it's more about desperation towards you. So they might ask you lots of personal questions about you. Basically, they're trying to establish a bond quickly. And if this feels unnatural, for example, they might give you an endearing pet name, then you need to be suspicious. For example, they might say that they've never felt love like this before, or they might compare you to being kissed by a rose on the grey. Sorry, enough SEAL jokes. Before we move on to number 5, let's get into the story of SEAL. That is a seamless segue. So SEAL, as you might know, his real name is SEAL Henry Olusegun Olumide Adeola Samuel. Hope I pronounced that right. He is, as we all know, a British singer. He sold over 20 million records worldwide. His most celebrated song, A Kiss from a Rose, was released in 1994. SEAL has won multiple awards throughout his career, including 3 Brit Awards. He coached on The Voice in Australia in 2012 and 2013. So what are the details of this scam? A superfan lost £2,000 in a fake romance scam after an online con artist posed as the British pop legend. The victim's name was 𝐏𝐬𝐲𝐜𝐡 𝐅𝐨𝐫, and she was left bankrupt after a conman said that he was in financial difficulties. So this fake SEAL created an Instagram account, which Miss 𝐏𝐿, who was unemployed at the time, thought obviously was real. She sent direct messages to the profile, and then this person, pretending to be SEAL, asked to speak to her on WhatsApp. So 𝐏𝐬𝐲𝐜, who was aged 41 from Hungary, was left bankrupt after the conman claimed that he was in financial difficulties, despite the fact that the real SEAL is reportedly worth £30 million. I think she should have noticed some fin fishy. Sorry, apologise, that is the last SEAL joke, I promise. So I'm quoting from the victim here. She said, "I felt foolish, but I enjoyed our conversations and believed that there was a romantic connection developing. He looked and sounded like 𝐸Z𝐸, and he said he was in the US, which is where 𝐸Z𝐸 lives. Ms. 𝐏𝐿𝐴SI was fooled for more than 2 months before she realised that he was not the real deal 𝐸Z𝐸. She continued, and I quote, "We decided to meet up in person, but he said there was a tariff of £10,195 that he needed me to lend him. I paid £2,000 and explained that was all I could afford, but he then demanded that I sell my apartment. I took out a mortgage and he demanded I sell my apartment, take out a mortgage and borrow money from friends. The fraudster apparently bombarded her with messages when she declined, and Ms. 𝐏𝐿𝐴SI has since reported the scam to the police in Budapest." So just to be crystal clear, I don't want to throw any shades on 𝐸Z𝐸. There's no suggestion that the pop star or anyone connected with him was involved in the fraud. So 𝐸Z𝐸, if you're watching, I know you're legit. I think you're a great musician. I admire you. You have my seal of approval. Sorry, last one, I promise. Okay, moving on to the warning signs. Numero 5. If their language is quite poor. So many of these scammers are actually foreign and they see Western decadent infidels as an easy target. And you might be able to tell this if their use of language or grammar rather than spelling is poor. So does their terminology seem off? Remember, even swindlers have spell check. Okay, moving on to the next one. Number 6, they prefer to move the conversations away from dating websites. So they might suggest to you to move on to email or to text or phone calls. And that's because basically they've got this fear of being caught out by the websites. So if they convince you to move away, then they know that you're interested if you go through that process. So they know in their heads that you are a potential catch. Number 7, before I go on to this, I just want to introduce you to my channel, 𝐏𝐬𝐲𝐜𝐡 𝐅𝐸𝐬�00. It is a smorgasbord of topics related to true crime and mental illness and the crossover between the two. I implore you to subscribe. Not only does it help me out immeasurably, but it also gives you a minty fresh breath for the rest of your life. As I said, I do a whole range of videos. I'm trying to educate you. There's loads of topics, but at the same time, there is only so much a man can tell you. So much he can say, you remain my power, my pleasure, Sorry, that is the last one. I promise that is the last one. Moving on, number 7, a huge red flag is if you struggle to actually meet up with them in person. So for example, they might promise to see you, but there's always hurdles in the way. They will cancel at the last minute, or they offer excuses for delaying meeting up, sometimes related to financial troubles because they are trying to fish you. And the final red flag, last but not least, number 8, they claim to be 𝐸Z𝐸. I mean, come on, he was once married to Heidi Klum. I'm sorry, but he's just not interested in you. Okay, I'm going to move on and I'm going to try and educate my Psych for Soul guys and gals about how to protect yourself from being scammed if you're on these dating websites and apps. First and foremost, the most simplest thing to do is to perform a reverse image search of their profile photo and see if it belongs to somebody else. I would love to tell you how to do that, but I'll be honest with you guys, I have the IT skills of a fish with special needs. I don't know how to do it. I'm sure one of you younger viewers will know. Please let us all know in the schmections below. It will be very helpful, hopefully, to potential victims. Next thing is kind of an obvious one, I think, but I will still say it. Don't share your personal information. If you share information like your full name, your date of birth, your mother's maiden name, your favorite teacher, the name of your first pet hamster, your home address with a stranger, you don't know what that person is going to do with that information. And kind of connected to that, do not send or receive money. So don't do that to anybody you've met online, no matter how convincing their story is. This applies to cash as well as obviously your bank account or credit card details or other financial details. If it's coming from someone you don't know, then you need to check offline to make sure it's really them. Moving on, another tip I have for you is to use trusted dating websites. So use a website that will allow you to keep your personal details private until you're ready to share them. Don't be giving out your phone number or email address, etc., etc. And the other tip that I've got for you, for obvious reasons, is think twice before using your webcam. Be careful with a new love interest, even if it's someone who you think you know, because let's face it, that footage could be edgy, dodgy, and it can be used against you. Okay, so to conclude this episode, I've told you what I believe is a fascinating story about a con man pretending to be SEAL. I told you about 8 red flags for internet dating related to scams. As I said, I might do another video related to general online dating tips to kind of avoid psychopaths and wrong-uns. We've talked about what are the many signs that can help you tell if you're being scammed, how to protect yourself from being scammed on dating websites and apps. If I've missed anything at Schmeich for Schmore, guys, let me know in the comment section below any other tips that you might have for our community of people. Until then, stay euthymic, buy my goddamn book. Please subscribe. I need more subscribers because I have a very fragile ego. Stay euthymic and do not forget, whatever happens, I love you.